Get started. All right. Can you guys see my screen? Okay.
See you.
Okay, great. Now I'll get that going. Yeah, I had a bit of a hiccup with computer freezing and something going wrong with the Eventbrite connection to Zoom, which is never fun the last minute. Can you guys see that okay now?
Yep.
All right. Well, yeah, look, let's commence. A few people have obviously had trouble logging in, so hopefully they'll be able to make it. If not, we'll get them the recording of this whole thing. We had quite a few register, and overall, I think the event that we put together is a bit of a echo from last year. Max and I did two physical half-day presentations on the subject, and we wanted to really crunch it down into something a little bit more practical. So. If anyone's joining in, just guys use live chat, mute yourself so we can go through it. There'll be a breakout room session so we can have a conversation about the content as well. And yeah, let's jump right into it. Okay, so Elevate Online. Like I said, this is a new event, which is where we are wanting to go through what the top 10% of our customers are really doing in terms of digital marketing. And look, digital marketing is a broad term, but I'd like to sort of throw AI into the whole thing as well. And hopefully through this presentation, you'll understand why. So a little bit about myself. My name is Alexei. I run a couple of businesses. My main business is called YEWS Solutions. We are a results agency. And I also run a podcast called Better Business. You can find it on YouTube or any major platform. I guess for myself, I really like to challenge myself. I love learning. And most importantly, I love helping business owners, strive in their business and, inspiring and motivating them really gives me a lot of joy where especially I can see things changing in the right way. So for me, creating positive change is really my goal. In terms of Eurasian Solutions, we've been around for quite some time in the digital agency space. It's forever. In fact, we're really looking forward to our 20-year anniversary in a couple of years. But right now, it's been some time. Like I said, we're a results-based agency, which is where we've sort of gone through traditional web design, doing digital marketing towards solutions that are more technology and solutions oriented. So we use a lot of CRM, we use a lot of AI. We implement processes specifically to help people increase conversions in the end result. And overall, we work on B2B as well as B2C solutions. So we're not just stuck in the mum and dad's the market. We also like to work with businesses where they target businesses specifically, and that's been quite an interesting journey. We have a very personalized approach. We like to work with our customers individually and really build a relationship. We have a team of specialists and we are across Brisbane, Gold Coast, and Melbourne. We've got physical offices there. In terms of what we do ourselves, Google Ads, SEO, websites, like I said, a lot of automation. I think automation is really something that's not done as much as I'd like to see, especially in the space of small businesses. And overall, getting businesses to grow is really the focus because a lot of the time business owners would reach out and say, hey, we want to get more leads. And at the end of the day, that's not always the problem. In fact, most of the time there's a problem with either the sales process or the overall product. We do a lot of consulting and training, and we love to experiment with our own businesses. So on the right-hand side here, you see a few businesses that we run. We've got a cleaning business, we've got a VA business, we have a smoke alarm business. We have done a lot of side projects which have been quite successful, and some of these businesses have been sold. But long story short, we like to play with real businesses ourselves to understand the back end and really be able to help our customers. Because a lot of the time, I find digital marketing agencies just do not understand the back end of the business. They don't understand the logistics, the inventory, the staff component, and everything else that happens behind the doors. We work with a diversity of customers. For us, we tend to be quite broad, but at the same time, we do find trends of businesses, let's say in the dental space or in the legal space. We work with a lot of online stores, but we like to work with business owners who really want to change, and that personal relationship is really what allows us to strive. Today's agenda is really I want to touch on the 4 key areas of business, and I want to start talking about that purely just to give you a bit of an overview as to what is on the table and what really needs to be addressed. We'll be talking about niche marketing and sales alignment because I think that is one area that often requires improvement. Then we'll do a breakout session just to allow for a little bit of networking. And then we'll go over to Max, who is our absolute gun on AI. And then in the end, we'll do a wrap up. And yeah, if you've got any other questions, we'll be able to address it from there. All right, let's get started. So why are we here? I guess some of the main reasons are that the competition is getting tougher than ever. I mean, we're finding that over COVID, everyone's done quite well, and a lot of businesses have had a lot of resources that they're still throwing into the whole marketing game. And overall, there are more competitors. It has become easier for businesses to for people to start a business, and there's been a big shift in the market where there's just been a lot of new businesses starting. I find that there's a lot of money being wasted on ad spend, where people are just boosting posts on Facebook or trying the Google Ads, WYSIWYG automated approach, which often just spends a lot of dollars. And I think that most importantly, that a lot of leads are still slipping through the cracks. People are trying to do things very manually, and they don't think about the end result. So whatever you're marketing, a lead may come through, you're likely not to, get through to that lead when you try to call them, and then there's no proper process where you may be leaving some money on the table. And I think businesses are working, really hard these days to keep things going. I mean, a lot of people are losing staff or finding it hard to find staff, and at the same time, they're sort of forced to push harder. And yeah, that is obviously the opposite of smarter, unfortunately. So that's what we really want to allude to and show you a few things that may potentially change your perspective. So let's have a look into where we are right now. So we're in at the end of August of 2025, and overall, I like to sort of look into things from the perspective of where are you now, where are you heading, and how do you want to get there? Because if you're going to look into your business and you're going to keep doing the same thing over and over, what's that going to look like? If you potentially not going to do something, you may end up worse. And what is that going to be like? And ideally, what's the better scenario? Where are you really striving to? Now, a good way to look at it is to look into the previous 12 months. And I think if you look into the whole thing, over the last 12 months, we've had the AI revolution. The AI is well and truly here. There are some real practical solutions that can do a lot of things, and we'll touch on that today. I think there's been an economy crisis, to call it fair, because the economy has been very jumpy, and interest rates, wages, immigration. There's a lot of issues there that are potentially impacting our economy, and this is impacting consumer behavior. Staff is hard to find. That is an issue across just about every industry I find. And overall, let's agree, there's been a huge shift in the market, or multiple shifts, if you like, because since the COVID, the world just hasn't been the same. We find that businesses advertise differently. Businesses have, evolved, if you like. And I think it's very important to address that as well. So where is your business in this perspective? I think that's important to have a look and understand where you'd like to be in the next 12 months. Because if you're going to keep going the way you're going, giving all these things that are on the table, which will actually continue to change, you may potentially end up in a worse position as the way you are right now. But I hope I'm wrong. So in terms of the business, there are four pillars of the business. And this is just a very brief way, very simple way to look into things. There's your marketing, there's your sales, your operations, and your accounting. And overall, this is the flow system where one sort of leads into another. Without marketing, there's obviously no sales. Without sales, there's no operations. And without all that, there's no accounting. There's nothing to invoice for. I'd like to keep it simple because I think a lot of the time business owners jump from one area to another and they interconnect things so much that it's very difficult for them to adjust something without affecting something else. So let's look at it from this perspective. And I guess this is something I talk about in my book, which is called Better Business That Works. You can get that book from my website. It's actually being printed right now. And if you're interested to find out more about concepts like that, check out my Better Business podcast. You can find it on just about any major platform. But I do talk about these components in quite some detail. And in fact, I have decided to put together our next event on this particular subject, which is going to be on the Tuesday, 16th of September from 6 to 7 p.m. Yes, I'm trying to make it up to hours to accommodate for some startups and new businesses. And there's going to be a new webinar, and you can scan this QR code to get there. And we'll obviously send a follow-up after this email with the details. It's a free event. I think it's important to touch on these things if you want to learn more about it in the detail. And yeah, it's just about understanding how sales and marketing can potentially be tweaked for a better outcome specifically to your business. Anyway, The focus of today is marketing, sales, and operations, where niche strategy and AI can really make a big impact. That's what today's presentation is all about. We won't be jumping into accounting. While I find that it's essential, you can read about it in my book, or you can potentially have a look at it from a different perspective, but that is not the focus of today's presentation. So the problem with generic marketing is that a lot of the time we end up competing on price, or we attract wrong customers, or we have an inconsistent pipeline. One day you get referrals and leads, another one you don't. And oftentimes there's an old marketing strategy that is being used for too long. Sounds familiar? Well, you may be struggling with all of this, and I think it's important to understand that while there are some band-aid solutions to these things, you really need to look at the whole thing as a whole. So why niche? I mean, first of all, I think it's important to understand that if you put yourself as an expert and authority in a particular field, you can easily increase your prices. And this way, I guess the easiest way to look at it is if you compare your GP to, let's say, a specialist. A medical specialist will easily charge, three, four, $500 an hour, and you listen to every single word that they say. If you look at your GP, a lot of the time it's all Medicare rebated, and you go in there without really thinking of it too much. And that is how people look at business owners in terms of the problem that they actually resolve. If you're looking at doing everything, you are essentially undervaluing yourself. If you're looking at one specific thing and you're an expert in that field, not only are you going to have less competitors, not only it's going to be easier for you to market yourself and get higher conversion rates, you instantly become an authority. So if you can find those niches, that really works quite well. And sometimes it's a matter of having a niche in a niche. Most importantly, out of this exercise, you typically end up with a better return on ad spend, or return on investment, if you like to look at it from a general perspective, based on your marketing efforts. Because if you are spending money for something real specific, then essentially it's all focused just towards the one message. Your message becomes a lot more focused. Your expertise becomes a lot more focused. And most importantly, the conversation with the customer becomes very focused around that initial conversation. So some of the niche examples, I guess in the trades, you may look into, deck builders as opposed to just someone who does all home services. No doubt, if you want a pretty good deck out of a specific product like composite, for example, you'd want to be speaking specifically to a deck builder as opposed to someone who's a jack of all trades who can do a bit of everything. I guess everybody's different, but you get the idea. In terms of law, you could be working with a conveyancing specialist or a general law firm. Which one would you prefer? I mean, it really depends on the situation, I guess. And this is where you're likely to get better customers, because if someone specifically wants, a specialist in a field of, let's say, commercial property transfer or something like that, they're not going to go to a general law firm. In terms of dentals, implants versus general dentistry, I think that's fairly straightforward. And yeah, if you can find something within your business and have a look at it, I think you'll see that, quite obvious. And a lot of the time, I think it's about finding that by looking at the 80-20 behind your business. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the Pareto principle of 80-20, where 80% of your results are really generated by 20% of your efforts. You will find that potentially there are a few products or services in your business that really drive most of the cash flow. Well, that is a niche within itself. You just have to really spend a little bit of time. Here are some tips for you to find a niche if you really want to look at it from a different perspective. Well, assess your expertise, have a look at customer needs. What is it that the customers actually want? We like to call this the gap analysis, where you really get to see exactly what the gaps are. And you may find that within the process, there could be something that no one is really offering. Look at service areas. I mean, we are talking not just in terms of the business services, but the actual areas, geographical areas. Have a look at profitable services within your business. Zero is your best friend there, or have a look at all of the above. Really, what you're looking for is a bit of a pattern based on, the facts within your business. And look, everybody is different. Some people are more analytical, looking at numbers really, draws a clear picture. Other people are more creative and may potentially want to have a chat with other business owners in relation to this thing. But overall, you're really looking for that sweet spot in terms of where the market is and where you've got less competitors and a particular way to make yourself stand out. So practical use of a niche. Well, we find that there's a lot of conversion data, especially in digital marketing, and oftentimes people just don't really tap into it, or they may do it very rarely, or they may not even understand what that means. You got your Google Analytics, you have your Facebook, Business Manager if you're doing social, you got your Google Ads. Overall, there's a lot of conversion data, given the fact that it's been set up. If you're running your campaigns without any conversion tracking, well, my advice for you, number one here, is to make sure you set that up as soon as possible. Otherwise, you've got raw data of traffic and people coming through, but you've got no idea what's actually working. Find keywords with high intent. What I mean by that is that there are keywords, and keywords are different to other keywords. If you're going to look for, a basic keyword like, let's say, plumber Brisbane, people may be looking for all sorts of things, and they could be in research mode. But if someone's going to look for something like best plumber near me or best plumber in Woolloongabba, they are specifically looking for something that is problem specific. And people could be looking for keywords like emergency plumber, after hours plumber, and those are the high intent keywords that typically lead to better inquiries. Paying for those is worth every single dollar, given the fact that the maths works out in terms of how many inquiries you get, how many you convert, and how much business you close in the end. Location plus service, like I said, is often the easiest way to look at a niche, and a lot of people don't look at it that way. But if you're just going to focus on the one location, that is where your, I guess, main customer audience is, then this works out really, really well. And I'll give you an example of how we implemented this for one of our customers. Building mini sites is a really good approach. What I mean by that is oftentimes people get stuck with the one main website and they try to squeeze everything out of it. It's a lot easier sometimes in the eyes of Google to build a separate website and make it, let's say, location specific or keyword specific, and just push that separately. This way, you're really not competing with anything else. You're making your message super clear. And this way, you're able to get a lot more inquiries. And like I said, I'll show you an example shortly. You can run your Google Ads campaigns to a specific area, and most importantly, you can create local reputation. So Google My Business profiles, you can set those up, and you can have multiple profiles. Be careful with this. We've got Carl here joining us today, who can really talk a lot about online reputation, how it's done. There's a right and a wrong way to do it, but bottom line is business can have multiple locations, and these locations can rank locally and really create a lot of authority locally as well. So here's an example for you. We have a client, a business called SecureLux. Now, these guys are the biggest CrimSafe installer in Southeast Queensland. In fact, I think they're the biggest in the whole state now. The main keywords that they push for are keywords like CrimSafe and security screens. So CrimSafe, no doubt, it's obviously a separate product, and these guys are the licensees of CrimSafe to install that. So what we've done for them is we actually created a local mini site, and you can see Ipswich security screens here. So if somebody looks for CrimSafe Ipswich, they find SecureLux popping up right at the top, and they get them showing up in the map results as well. Now, if someone's going to look for like best CrimSafe installer, they'll also find them through the Gemini. I should have put that in my slides, but that's one thing that works quite well these days. What I'm trying to show you here is that we are dominating these specific areas, and we've got this website for Gold Coast, Redland, and a bunch of other areas around Brisbane, and that complements their main website, securelux.com. Now, there's obviously a bit of a recipe behind this as to how it's set up, and overall, I think you got to understand that people look locally and they trust people locally. How we came up with this concept rather, it was all around the installers and the salespeople who work for SecureLux, because a lot of the time they will be getting inquiries locally. So we thought, you know what, why not utilize their local locations where people actually reside and set up these profiles specifically to maximize the local presence. So here is a bit of a recipe for you. And if this is something you'd like to discuss, I'd be happy to do that during the breakout session. That's what it looks like. Essentially, we are preserving the SecureLux brand look and feel, but each website has got unique content, and we've got specific offers based on the area. But yeah, this is a medium-sized business now. It's not a small business anymore. So there's obviously a lot going on behind the scenes. So in terms of results, we're talking about better quality leads. What I mean by that is leads are a lot more relevant, and this is the key. You want to make sure that leads are either qualified or the overall quality is improved, because if the leads are general, a lot of the time you just won't get a higher conversion rate based on the fact that you're having general discussions with people. The cost per lead has been reduced by 40% by introducing this particular exercise. And this is very simple. If you look at it from a Google Ads perspective, we are not targeting all of Brisbane. We are targeting a very specific area with a lesser number of competitors. And this way we have the highest relevance specific to that location, which allows us to do that. This is the Google Ads tweak, and this is something we've been doing for quite some time, and this is a great example of it. And they're now the biggest CrimSafe provider in Queensland. We've been working with these guys since 2017, and have grown that business quite immensely. And here's a testimonial from Daniel, if you'd like to have a minute to have a read at it sometime. You can also find it on our Google business profile as well. But yeah, we started initially by doing Google ads, and now we do absolutely everything for these guys. And yeah, it's been an amazing journey. It's been great to learn from these guys, and they're the living proof of what we can do for a business. So overall, I think it's important to start by aligning your marketing and sales. Once you figured out the whole niche thing, you want to make sure that your ideal customer profile, the ICP as we like to call it, is aligned with the messaging and it's aligned with the offer that you're pushing for. And that is something that translates into your sales process. Where traditionally marketing agencies fail is they come up with some sort of an amazing offer, they come up with a lot of cool creative, they get you a lot of attention and leads start to come through, but it's just not connected to the sales process. So what I recommend doing is looking at your sales process and try to reverse this process. So what specifically is it that you sell based on? Do you sell based on the fact that your product is better? Do you sell it based on the fact that you can install it faster? Do you sell your product mainly because you've got stock available? What is it specifically? Have you got some sort of a promotion? Have you got some sort of a value add? There's a lot of different components within your sales process that are just often not really translated into the actual messaging. And the actual message is often just not aligned to the right customer audience. I mean, let's look at the conveyancing example, for example. A lot of the inquiries for conveyancing companies come through on Saturday and Sunday. The reason for that is because that's when people look to buy a property. Now, if you tweak the process and enable a process that allows you to take inquiries on the weekends and answer them straight away, you will win a lot more business purely because you understand the customer profile and you basically can align the messaging and the processes specifically around that. And you could do an offer saying, hey, happy to talk to you on the weekend. And if you're not able to talk to them on the weekend, we have a solution for you. We've got an AI voice message bot, which allows to speak to the customer in a human voice. You probably won't even tell the difference because it gets better and better, and you'll be able to win a lot more business. So there are different things that you could do within this process, but it basically is where your sales and marketing overlap. So in terms of a practical framework, please research your competitors and do your own research on the business. Make sure you define your edge. What is it specific that makes your business better? What is it specific that, makes you stand out? What is it that, you guys could deliver better? And this is where a lot of the time you really, really struggle to identify these points purely because you're so involved in your business. It's difficult for you to zoom out. But the easiest way to do it is to, run these things through tools like ChatGPT. I'm sure Max will talk about it. But overall, there are many different aspects to your business that you're potentially not presenting in front of the customer. Build authority content. What I mean by that is people want to know that you know your stuff. So blog posts, social media posts, all that sort of stuff. Write a book like I did, for example, if you like. But overall, it's about authority of your content and making sure that you can really stand out. There's a lot of content out there, but is there good content? Is there relevant content? Whenever you research something, I'm sure you go to websites and have a look at their about pages, which means that you're probably researching the key people, or you're looking at the way they do things, or the fundamentals or principles. So make sure you build that authority content. And then automate or delegate key processes and follow-ups. We like to use AI a lot. There are manual ways to do this, but overall, we find that majority of businesses miss out in sales due to their follow-up process, and they're trying to do everything themselves. If you've got an amazing team, you got to set up delegation processes. If you're really into AI and automation, tools like high level, which is what we use, and in fact this has been our secret weapon. High level CRM is absolutely amazing. Or if you're using HubSpot or anything else, there are ways to automate some of the key processes, and I highly recommend that you jump into something like that. So what are our top customers doing differently? First of all, we work on that niche. If we can change the flow of their marketing and really channel it towards one specific area, which we know works out well for them, that is a huge win. We need to make sure that the marketing and the sales processes are connected. And this is where we talk to salespeople quite a lot to really understand how to do their marketing better. We run experiments. You can't expect one single thing to work. If you're running multiple campaigns, make sure you test different messages. The easiest one is A/B. You have one copy, you have another copy, you run them side by side, and then you get to see exactly which one performs better in terms of conversions or sales, whichever way you're running your campaigns. Make sure you've got a CRM or something that allows you to systemize the process. Collect those leads, do your email marketing, do other things. Make sure you're systemizing the process. If you're doing everything manually, you are missing out. In 2025, guys, I don't think that's acceptable for a small business. There's so many solutions out there, and for a couple $100, you get the money back real quick. Now, omnichannel marketing. This is where things get a little bit more complicated, but if you're just doing social or just Google, you are missing out. You really got to put all these things together and make them work as one single campaign. What I mean by that is you're able to track people who are coming from Google as visitors to your website and then share that data with Facebook. So if those people are on Facebook, you can actually remarket to them using Facebook. It's a very simple exercise. And this is where a lot of people are actually not running it that way. And you don't have to spend an arm and a leg on remarketing campaigns, but the actual setup itself really allows you to get a lot of engagement and repeat customers coming through. YouTube is underutilized. YouTube is the biggest, how-to channel. So if people are looking how to do something, it's all there. You can run your Google video campaigns through that to complement your overall Google ads. If you're not doing it, it's really just a matter of creating a nice ad. And now there are a lot of AI tools available that allow you to do that. And most importantly, email marketing. If you got a database of people that you haven't emailed that bought from you in the past, you guys are not doing yourself a service. Sending out an email blast to your past customers to let them know what's happening is the easiest thing you can do. Now, we run a lot of lead reactivation campaigns, which is all about past customers or past inquiries. And some of those you may have won, and some of those you may have not won. But overall, those people have made an inquiry for a legit reason. And you could do, referral campaigns. You could, do an upsell, an offer, or anything else. And a lot of the time, if you just send out an email, if you have, a big enough database and you've been in business for long enough, you will naturally get people prompting you saying, "Hey, I'm glad you emailed, haven't spoken to you in a while." So I think it's absolutely worth it. You just got to look into your average, transaction value, and if it's a couple hundred or a couple $1,000s, I think the answer is very clear. The biggest issue I'm seeing is a lot of business owners are trying to do everything themselves. And it doesn't cost an arm and a leg. All you really need is a recipe or a strategy, if you like, and a system that basically supports you. And then, upsell and cross sells opportunities, partnerships are other things that our clients are doing. We encourage our customers to look for potential competitors and people who are in the same sort of market, because a lot of the time, those competitors are not really true competitors. They are people who you can actually partner with and get cross referrals. What I mean by that is we work with a lot of social media agencies or design agencies where they want to, get someone to build websites for them. So I have a website division that just works with other agencies helping them build websites. And we've done some, pretty big websites. I mean, I'm not going to mention any names in the sake of this, particular exercise, but you get the idea. The whole concept here is try to understand who has your customer before you and see where you guys are not in competition with them. A lot of the time, you can really form some good alliances. And I think with that philosophy, a lot of businesses can really work quite well. SecureLux works quite well with businesses in the locksmith space, with people who do doors, with people who do security screens and whatnot. And I think you understand why. All right, so in summary, research and do your competitor analysis. Define your age, build an authority, content, and come up with a plan to do that, because your Google reviews are sometimes just not simply enough for people to, really trust you with a business. And make sure you automate your, outreach, follow-up campaigns, and whatever you can with AI. The tool is there, allows you to do so much, and Max will talk about in a second. I know we've covered a lot, guys, but I just want to make sure I touch on all these things. And if you've rocked up to this webinar a little bit late, we are recording this, but don't run away just yet. We're going to do our breakout room session pretty soon, and then Max will go with his presentation on AI, and I guarantee you will learn something new. So I'd like to finish my presentation with a quote from Albert Einstein. Insanity is doing the same thing over and over, and then again, expecting different results. I think too many small businesses are doing that, and I think it's time to change. If I can help them in any way or I can guide them in the right direction, that's my goal. All right. Do we have any questions? I'm happy to open up the mic if you guys would like. We can go and do this through chat, or you could potentially just hit hand up and I can open up your microphone for you. All right. No questions is good. Well, in that case, we may want to jump into breakout rooms. But before I do that, I'd like to prompt Carl. Carl, are you here, mate? just want to get you to back me up on that Google business profile setup for the local businesses when they have multiple employees and whatnot.
Yeah, mate. Hi, Alexei. Thanks for that. Yeah, I mean, Google Business Profile is, one of these amazing tools that Google created, but the irony of it is they expect you to Google how to use it. So I think there was a research stat out there. It's almost less than 50% of businesses out there have claimed their Google Business Profile. And I would say the vast majority of the ones that have claimed it have barely even touched about 10% of the capability. You almost have to think about your Google Business Profile like a small website with the amount of content that's in there. And this is becoming even much more relevant as we move forward. And I'm sure Max will probably talk about this as well. Is that the new AI search engines will be scraping all of the data and everything from your Google business profile and your Google reviews, not just Google. I mean, I love Google reviews, but Trustpilot, Seek, Glassdoor, to give you this kind of omnidirectional kind of view of your online reputations. So it's really super important at the moment to go through there and claim your Google profile, optimize it, and get regular reviews because that recency is another big ranking factor in the Google algorithm.
Absolutely, absolutely. Have you had any issues with any Google profiles just recently? I think in the last 6 months, quite a few have been suspected for no apparent reason. Have you had
Yeah,
much of that happening?
yeah, there was one particularly just recently, and I think Google struggles with, well, the algorithm tends to automatically flag things like VA businesses because they don't they don't particularly like it if it's just a remote kind of business like that. So, and getting them unsuspended, it can be a little bit challenging because there's probably only about 10 guys in some little call center room managing it for everybody in the world. So
Yeah.
it is hard, but you just got to keep pushing back and don't take no for an answer.
Yeah, well, we've had a couple of clients come to us where they sort of ran out of their options. They tried to appeal the decision from Google, and it sort of comes to a point where now your business is suspended, and this is where they typically knock on our door. But we've had it with a couple of chains where they had multiple locations and providers in many areas. It's taken us about 6 weeks, but we have been able to reinstate it. But the issue was there's been multiple profiles, and I think the customer didn't know what they were doing themselves, and Google's blended a few things, and reviews had been lost. But anyway, long story short, it's come back. The irony is, before this exercise, they haven't really done any marketing besides Google My Business. They're in a particular, they're in a very specific area of Caboolture, and they were getting all the business there for what they were doing. And yeah, when that disappeared, they really freaked out. And now that we reinstated it back, they're super happy. They got the other marketing happening, and the business has grown. So as painful as this exercise have been, they're actually better off now. But yeah, it's been very stressful for them for sure. And very frustrating for us as well because Google doesn't really have a specific, dedicated office for Google My Business anymore. They used to provide it, and now it's all over the shop. By the time you get directed to those people, it's quite difficult. But what we find really helps is running a Google Ads account along the line as well. Because oftentimes you got a leg to stand on where you say, look, this is a paid advertiser, and they like to use their Google My Business profile or Google Business profile, if you like to call it that, to extend their marketing. And this is really what gets the whole situation going. Anyway, another topic, but yeah, it has been an interesting one. All right, well, thanks for that. Let's jump into breakout rooms. I hope we can get a few people onto this because I know that some of you may be listening while you're driving or you may be busy. But look, we're recording this. Let's give this a shot. If it works, great. If it doesn't, no worries. But I think this is a great way for you to meet other business owners and potentially have a chat to us here as well. So let me sort this out. All right, here we go.
Problem.
All right. Hey, John, how you going there?
Hi, Alexei. Good, thanks.
So what sort of business do you run, mate?
Industrial lighting.
Oh, that's very niche. Here we go. Great. And how's it going?
Well, pretty good up until about 2 months ago, I think. Things ran pretty well till 30th of June, and we've gone off a cliff since then. We don't usually get a 30th of June surge, but I'm starting to think that we might have had a 30th of June surge, which actually just kept things where they were. And then come 1st of July, while everyone's waiting for new budgets and things, it's gone dead. But I've been doing it for 14 years now. So,
Okay, cool.
and, yeah.
Well, look, I think anything that's B2B, and especially if it's connected to any government contracts or any high organizations, yeah, the decision making process typically takes some time. And yeah, it's not fun when it all changes and budgets change. But I think it's just important to diversify the marketing campaigns and the different channels that you may use. And if you can get some, I don't know, subcontracts or potentially, get some other work coming through, that'll keep your cash flow going. Probably not something you want to hear, but I find that just focusing on the one niche alone and the one market sometimes makes things quite risky. And it's difficult to market as well, especially if those decision makers aren't really actively looking for a solution. So as a Google person, I can tell you that the problem with B2B, the decision makers are just not searching it enough. And oftentimes this is where you got to do an outreach, email them, connect them on LinkedIn, really try to prompt them in order to start looking your way. So we find that is a bit of an issue, and LinkedIn has been awesome for us. It's probably something we can talk about if you're interested, but yeah, it's been huge. Yeah,
Right.
yeah. And how's Reputable going, Carl? I haven't spoken to you for a while. I know you've been very busy and you've been to
Yeah, yeah,
Europe.
working on lots of projects. My book for Reputable is pretty much finished. I'm just doing the last bit of edits through it. It's about
Mhm.
80,000 words on that. So all about client journey experiences and how when you really nail that, how then to take that and turn that into SEO powered reviews. But since we've last connected, I started a third business now, and I'm not up to six or however many you've got. But this one is called the Curated Circle, which is a business networking lunch
Yep.
where, rather than just like a BNI where you kind of turn up, it's actual intentional curating. So when we put our lunches on, we'll make sure that Max, and John sit next together because they've got something aligned where they can help each other, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And they've got the launch on the 4th of September. I think I sent it to you at Mercedes-Benz Brisbane, which is going to be pretty epic. I think we're giving away like 30 grand worth of prizes, and it's just going to be a fun night.
Yeah, yeah. Well, for those of you who are not familiar, Carl runs a lot of businesses. You got more than me now at the moment because I sold a couple.
Did
But
you?
one of his main businesses is Xenix Diamonds. So if you're from around Brisbane, you'd probably find him as the leader in the diamond ring market.
Mm.
And yeah, Carl over COVID. And in fact, there's quite a story. We actually did a podcast on this. He's sort of gone towards online reputation because everything was shut. And he's basically just killed all the competition in terms of Google reviews, and that's what he does. So if you guys are interested in that, that's definitely worth having a look at. But mate, I'll make a reference to that presentation we did because we went quite in depth into the whole thing. And I
Mm.
know your business has changed, but yeah, hopefully, if there's interest, we'll probably do another one on the updates with Reputable.
Yep, always happy to do that.
Okay, Innovation Beauty Lab. Are you there? You're with us. I know some people are listening on the fly, but I just want to make sure everyone gets a fair go. You may need to unmute if you wanna say something. Yep. Hello.
Hello there. I'm sorry, I'm a bit busy. I'm actually listening you, but I can't really show myself.
That's okay. No, that's not a problem at all.
It's a,
She's an
Yeah,
enigma.
so tell us what is it that you do if you got a
um, okay, I'm a beauty therapist, so I got my clinic in Bundle, so it's a small clinic. And my another side hustle is distribution business, which I started like 3 years ago. So it's business to business. So mainly um, we distribute products from Italy and Korea, and it's mainly to the beauty clinic professional. So it's mainly
Okay,
professional.
very
Yeah.
cool. Well, we
So
have an office in Bundall as well on the Gold Coast. 47 Ashmore Road is where our office is. That's in fact where.
no, that's the clinic. That's the clinic in
Okay.
Ashmere. The office, actual office of Innovation Beauty Lab and Malindana and Gold
Okay.
Coast. Yeah,
No worries. No
I
worries.
travel quite a bit.
Okay. And what is your niche specifically? If you were to look in your business from the perspective of my presentation, what is the one niche in your business that you could find?
What the niche, to be honest, I missed half of a presentation probably, or
Okay.
but it's my main niche. It's yeah, it's business to business, so it's mainly clinics and yeah, so it's wholesale.
Okay.
And I guess, and of course, as the clinic, it's mainly more personal or kind of contact. Yeah, but I do need to work on my social media more, I guess.
Okay. Well, that's something we can certainly talk about, but I'm sure Max's presentation is something you definitely want to tune into because he will talk to you about various ways that could potentially work. All right, guys.
Yep.
Well,
Right.
let's close the breakout rooms and jump into the presentation because I want to make sure that we are on time. And if there's any questions, we can address that. I mean, if my presentation was technical, guys, buckle up because Max's is just going to blow your socks off. But I think it's highly relevant to all of your businesses based on the fact that you are always looking for new ideas, solutions, and practical ways to implement things. All right, let's go back. All right, so we're now all back. Let's share the screen again and let's get back into it. I'll be doing the clicking and we're going to get Max to do the talking. So if you got any questions in the meantime, something burning, pop it into chat. I'll be monitoring this and then we're going to go from there. All right, Max, over to you, buddy.
All right. You guys can hear me okay? Beautiful. All right. Thanks so much, Alexei. Well, yeah. Thanks for hopping on, guys. My name is Max, as Alexei mentioned. And yeah, I'm the head of SEO here at YEWS and also head of a lot of the AI solutions. Now, yeah, Alexei mentioned my presentation. Actually, it's about half the size of what it originally was because honestly, I could go on for hours and hours on this. And what I decided to do is essentially cut out some of the things we've already talked about and give you a TLDR on those, a quick rundown, and then we'll dive deeper into some of the newer stuff. So yeah, the overall theme of the presentation is, we wanna give you some battle tested weapons to take you from someone who's an amateur to someone who's a pro. That's the general idea. So yeah, in the last event that we ran around this, we covered a lot of things, and so I'm not going to go into too much depth into these. But essentially what we covered is a few basic and advanced applications that you guys can use straight away. Now, I'm just going to mention to you what these are right here, right now, because I'm sure you guys have heard of these by now, by this point, especially if you've been using AI. If not, well, this will be your introduction. You can obviously summarize videos and PDFs using AI tools. You can make educational materials easier to understand or comprehend, so you can learn things swiftly. You can write better emails, write better letters, proposals, that kind of thing, using ChatGPT and tools like that. But also, if you want to move into doing some, video content, if you're doing social media or anything like that, there's a few tools that we talked about, such as InVideo or vidIQ, that will help you creating the video content. And then finally, we also discussed last time creating custom AI software. Now, when I did this session, the latest ChatGPT version we had was 4. So now we've got way more robust tools to do the programming. You can create way better software, way easier. So that's what we covered last time. We won't go into too much depth into that. But in this session, we're going to cover some new stuff. So yeah, so overview of this session, we're going to demystify some basic and advanced AI techniques. So the idea is, once again, to arm you with some practical tools you can use straight away. We'll give you some AI solution case studies to show you some of the different ways you can deploy AI and get some good results. And we also want to set you up for the near future and also for the present, because it's quite hard to keep up for a lot of people in this space. I mean, even myself, I'm sort of actively, into this space, and I myself can't keep up with everything that's happening. So, if you're not someone that's a buff and avid AI researcher, then it's hard to do without help. So that's my goal for today, is to help you with that. All right. Yeah, so my story around this topic. So as I mentioned, I'm the head of SEO at YEWS Solutions. So that's my main role. However, how this AI thing popped up for me in 2023, essentially when we had some of the early tools pop up. So we had Jasper, we had OpenAI Playground, first versions of ChatGPT. I've been reading about this thing for years up until that point. So as soon as it came out, I was like, "You beauty, let's jump in, all in." I literally treated it like toys. Spent a lot of time just playing around, much like how, when Photoshop first came out, people that were creatives, they would play around in Photoshop, push all the buttons, see what all the functions can do. And the thing that really set me on this path is essentially programming my own chatbot with Discord. There's a software called Discord where people can hop into a server and chat. Now it's a good social tool. Me and a lot of my mates actually use it to communicate. And how this all started for me was I created a bot, which is meant to simulate me, which kind of frightened me because I was able to condense my personality to 20 lines, a prompt of 20 lines, which sort of frightened me. I thought, is that all it is? But long story short, that bot worked really, really well. And it did something that no other bot did, which was speak to people unprompted within a chat room. So it was a full simulation of me as a social participant. Fast forward a couple of years from then, we've introduced this into our company. We've introduced several custom program tools, especially in the SEO department, which I'll mention in the next slide. But essentially, we fully adopted AI as a very core part of our business, especially in the SEO department and moving into the other departments. This year, what are we doing this year? We're taking the programming to another level. We're creating more solutions, which is giving me the ability to contribute to more projects. And now we're dealing with AI agents, as I'm sure you guys have heard. So you guys may want to take a screenshot of this, but if you want to know what AI tools do I recommend, this is what I would give you as a stack. So this is the family that we like to use. You got the big four up top. Just a quick rundown of what all of these are, in case you haven't heard. OpenAI Playground lets you use OpenAI's API to create custom apps. ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, Grok, these are all very similar. I'm sure you've heard of them. Large language models with lots of features. Merlin is a Chrome extension you can use to interact with web pages and YouTube videos. I use it mainly to scrape YouTube video scripts and transcripts and speak to the YouTube videos. 11 Labs will give you the ability to mimic your voice. Leonardo creates images. Rev AI is a transcription. High Level is our amazing CRM solution. Lots of good solutions in that. Gamma gives you presentation creation abilities. Replit is a programming tool, which makes programming super easy. Notebook LM is part of Gemini, lets you condense all of your company's materials and turn it into a chatbot. Read AI summarizes your meetings. Reply is a B2B automation for both LinkedIn and emails. Descript edits videos like a Word document. Canva is graphic design. Opus Clip creates clips for your socials, video clips. And Zapier helps you integrate these different tools. So if you haven't heard of any of these, I highly recommend you check them out, jump into them and have a play. Now, what kind of impact has this had on us? So we actually calculated this. I calculated this a while ago. This is actually last year. We calculated the first year of implementing this into the SEO department alone, and it ended up being actually close to $260,000 saved. And when we calculate into hours, how many hours of work, we're able to say, well, up to 86 days have been saved in that year. So this is just within the first year. If we were to calculate this now, it'll be actually a lot harder to calculate because we've scaled things up way further since. So that's the kind of impact you can achieve with these tools. So what's the general thought process behind implementing this stuff? So you need a guiding principle, and here's the one I recommend. Using AI is the fast lane. It can help you with flow and with speed. So you can use AI as an educated thinking assistant. If you're a person that has to do a lot of thinking in your role, or even as a business owner, like the kind of thought process you have to go through, think of AI as your assistant in that thought process. You essentially want to get to a particular conclusion in your thinking, in your strategizing. AI is your tool to fast track that process and get there a lot quicker with a lot less energy spent. It's free from past bias of your friends and family. We have well-meaning friends and family that love us, but often they'll give us advice that's tainted by their own past experience. And how good is that past experience? Well, you don't know. With these AI tools, you don't have that problem. I mean, sure, you might have some kind of ideological programming, but provided you're not doing some political stuff, you should be able to do most of your tasks quite easily. And finally, flow states. So obviously everyone talks about flow, all the great coaches, all of the great personal development people. This is a tool to enhance your flow. And if you can get into flow states using AI, then you'll get to your results much faster. At the end of the day, you want to reduce your delays. You want to go from your idea to reality as quick as possible with minimal time and effort and energy. At the end of the day, people just want to be lazy and get there in the end. So the AI gives you more reach to do that. So yeah, which results in, if you're entering a new territory, kind of like how Carl was talking about, entering the Google business territory, entering new territory with these tools helps you speed up the process. Let's put it that way. All right, so now we've covered the basics. Let's dive in. All right, first thing I want to mention to you guys, I notice this all the time, but for some reason, people are still resistant to talking to AI with their voice or using voice typing. Now, I don't know if they're embarrassed, if they're ashamed or something, but at the end of the day, you cannot think as fast as you can think. And you can speak a lot faster than you can type in most cases, unless you're a typing freak, which most people are not. So when you're prompting AI, if you want to get into a flow state, utilize the voice typing as much as possible. Now, I can't stress this enough, especially if you have a very complex thought process. So if you got someone in the office who's talking really loudly, just tell them, shut up, I'm prompting the AI. It's important. So yeah, don't be embarrassed to do that. Now, a lot of people like to share, like 500 prompts. I'm not going to do that with you guys. With this one, I just want to, this is something that personally irks me because I use AI so much that now I can recognize ChatGPT writing all over the board. I'm sure you guys that use AI as well can recognize that too. Whenever I see something online, a bit of text, or even I hear someone say something, I can almost detect with a 80% accuracy whether that's ChatGPT written or not. So let's get beyond this, guys. Straight up, if you get an output of your AI and it sounds like a robot, just say to it, people don't talk like this. Write it how people actually talk, and you'll get a much better response. Like, most people ignore this kind of step, so a lot of their output sounds either generic or robotic. This one prompt alone is going to change your entire AI life. I can guarantee it. Next one. How many people actually critique their work? So this is another good drill to the ego. Most people, they're quite proud of their work, and hopefully rightly so. If you do good work, you should be proud. However, sometimes that pride can become a form of blindness. It can become a form of ego. Now, as I mentioned before, you don't want your family and friends critiquing you because they love you and they have an association with you. You want an unbiased machine to critique you that's highly educated. So make sure to utilize the language models critiquing capacities. There's many ways to do this. I've got a couple up here on the screen. You can tell it to criticize my work, rewrite it to make it better, or criticize it, poke holes. Help me make it bulletproof. There's other variations you can use on this. For example, there's a simulation variation where if you're using a more complex language model, so something like like the advanced reasoning mode in ChatGPT, or like the thinking mode in GPT-5, you could actually say to it, well, run me a simulation. Like, here's what I'm trying to achieve. Now simulate the probability of success of me running this strategy, and then highlight all the pitfalls and lessons and learning, and then rewrite the strategy having learned those lessons, and then do that 5 times until you get the highest simulated probability of success. So, this is sort of getting into freaky territory, kind of like the Matrix, but really, if you can create a digital twin of your scenario they're trying to simulate, like let's say it's a business strategy, let's say it's a potential business partnership, let's say it's a particular marketing tactic or sales tactic, the more information you can feed it into that initial context, ask it to run a simulation, ask it to learn from the simulation, and then rewrite your approach. Simple. And anyone can do this stuff, by the way. If you can read a driver's license, you can do this. All right, here's another cool, awesome secret tool. And I see this completely underutilized, so I do want to bring this to your guys' attention. The deep research. In ChatGPT, Grok, Gemini, all the main large language models, you now have a deep research function. So most people, they don't use this to full effect. However, you can use this for pretty much anything. The way to think about it is it's your 10 students pulling an all-nighter for you. You got 10 uni students, 10 high school students, however you want to think about it. Probably more uni now, considering how intelligent this is. Get it. If you've been thinking about an idea, if you've been wondering how to achieve something, if you've been inspired and you thought, well, here's who I am, and I had this inspiration for this amazing idea, but I don't have any time to research it. I'm time poor. I'm busy. I don't have much energy. Well, chuck in your idea into this deep research. Tell it exactly what you want. So, what happens in this deep research? So, if we go next slide for a second, Alexei. You put in your initial request. So my initial request here was I'm looking for some AI tools that can create a homepage design. And it'll ask you some clarifying questions. So, in this case, it's asking me, do I want full design mockups or like ones that do actual designs or ones that do the actual code? Do I want it to be in a browser? Do I want free tools or paid tools? So I went and answered its questions. And what happens is you'll get a long report. So this is on the next slide. Now I've just taken a snapshot, but this thing will research up to 30, sometimes 40 sources for you. So, I've had deep research trials where I've asked it to research something for me, and it did 120 searches or 130 searches, found me like 35 sources, and it was a long report on a bunch of crypto coins. I was doing some crypto research. So, I don't have time to do crypto research. I don't have time to do technical chart analysis, but I want to be participating in that space. This tool helps me achieve that. I mean, you can apply this to any form of research, even your competitors. So let's say if you are trying to research your competitors, you can use this as well. It will perform the searches for you. It'll perform the analysis for you. If you're looking for new tactics, new options, new tools, this is an awesome way to do this. So utilize your 10 students pool in an all-nighter. All right, this is another fun one. Now, how many people love responding to emails? Yeah, thought so. So this thing was an awesome tool. One of the first ones that I've set up back in the day. Now, this is very easy. All you need is Zapier and ChatGPT, or you can use any other language model that integrates. Essentially, you can have it speak in your style, speak in your language, and generate email draft responses for you. So all you got to do is when you log into your Gmail account, you click on your drafts, and you can see all of the drafts that have been created for your emails that have come in that day. We got Carl saying, I use FXYER.ai. Nice. I haven't tried that one, Carl, but I'll definitely check that out. But yeah, this thing is amazing. This thing will reduce your response time. It will reduce the brain power spent. There's a lot of emails. If you think about composing emails, a lot of mental energy, mental RAM goes into the small talk. The polite phrasing or the professional phrasing. Sometimes you're not in a professional mood. Sometimes you're in an emotional mood. You're a human being, and you need to be able to convert your emotional thoughts into professional language. So this is an amazing way to save that brain power and get that quicker. Practical AI in SEO. So yeah, I'll touch on this because we can go real deep on this. But as I mentioned, we fully embedded AI into pretty much every area of our SEO department. We have content is sort of our strong point. So we actually one of the things that we're really proud of is our content. Our content creation facility is amazing, and that's something that I'm quite proud of having achieved in our department. We also use it for things like optimizing anchor texts, optimizing semantics, doing content audits, auditing competitors, deconstructing competitors, doing gap analysis competitors. If you know anything about SEO, then you'll know that a lot of the time you want to be reverse engineering the winners in a particular search, so you know why Google's rewarding the top players, because you want to be rewarded yourself. So AI is an incredibly powerful tool to deconstruct those gaps at any of those levels. All right, here's another fun one, 11 Labs. So now, if you find yourself in the kind of business where you have to produce a lot of, let's say, voice content, or maybe doing video ads, or maybe someone else is doing video ads for you, and you're too busy to sit there and record these video ads, record yourself speaking, 11 Labs, perfect solution. Funny story around this. So how we actually use this in our company. We did this with Alexei without Alexei knowing. So me and the head of the Google Ads, my colleague Kai. So essentially, he was creating some video ads for one of the businesses that Alexei was showing before on one of his slides. And he had this really sort of American kind of voice speaking the video ad. He showed me, and I'm like, it's a nice ad. It looks cool, the visuals, but this voice is way too American. Like no one, we're marketing to Australia. Like people are just going to bounce straight away. So yeah, I essentially went and downloaded one of Alexei's podcast episodes, extracted the audio, and we didn't tell him or anything. chucked it into 11 Labs, and we're able to have Alexei's voice speak over the ad text. Chucked it onto the video ad. Guess what? The video ad performed really well, and we only told Alexei after the fact. So yeah, do it first and apologize later. All right, now here's one of our bad boys, the AI lead qualification agents. Now these things are badass. So what this is, back in the day, I'm sure you've had the experience where you call the call center and it's like, please press 1 if you want, this or that, and extremely robotic. So those days are now gone. And in fact, there's a mass rollout happening across lots of industries. One of my friends actually works in Telstra, and he was explaining to me how recently they had a mass layoff of over sort of both level 1 support because of this, and also a lot of the executives. So and rightly so, because this thing it's gone to a point now where some people will not actually hear that it's a robot. Some people will actually believe it's a human being, and it's quite dynamic. You can have this thing essentially qualify any phone calls that come in after hours or on the weekends with a real human voice, well, a real human sounding voice. Speak to them, take them through the questions, the qualifying questions that you want. If they're a bad lead, bounce them away, and if they're a good one, then take all those details, put it into your sales team pipeline, and yeah, it helps you to essentially clean up your sales team pipeline, capture those leads while they're warm, qualify them while they're warm, and make sure that your sales team is speaking to good leads and not tire kickers. So awesome tool, fantastic. Yeah, ours has got a you can see 007 in the phone number because he's a bit of a bit of a gun. So yeah, very happy with that one. All right, so what kind of mindset do you want for applying these tools? Now, there is a bit of a mindset that I like to share with people. So I mentioned it as a decision-making assistant. Another way to look at it is essentially in life and in general, in business and every area, psychologists like to say perceptions are gambles. So, essentially whenever you perceive something and you're making the decision, you're gambling. You're trying to interpret the situation and you're placing a bet based on your calculated risk and calculated internal processes. Now, AI can help you make better bets, better gambles, basically reduce your risk and increase your probability of success. As I mentioned, you can run the simulation prompts. You can research things that you want. You can create any communication that you want. If you're the kind of person that likes flow and you like flow states, then AI should be one of your best friends, because this thing will put you into flow more and more. Especially if you use the voice prompting, you will attain those flow states with AI within a matter of time. I can only tell you that now it sometimes freaks me out that it's that classic unconscious competence. Like it starts off, you start off doing it manually, but when you've done it for a number of weeks or a number of months, your creativity kicks in, and then your own brain will create awesome prompts for you without you even trying. So that's the kind of reality that you get with these things. So yeah, make better bets, and yeah, have fun. How do kids learn? Kids often learn by playing with toys, and they push the boundaries of their toys. They look at them at every angle, they throw them, they take them apart, put them back together. Apply the same framework here. Just because it's technology doesn't mean this is not something that you can learn. As I mentioned to people, sometimes all this AI and technical jargon makes people think it's complex. It's not. If you can read a driver's license, you can use AI. So just think of it like that. Now, what is the future? Like, what are we looking at? Well, it might be good idea to talk about the present. We're looking at mass adoption. So it's quite obvious, but it just keeps growing every single year. And OpenAI, thankfully, in my opinion, is no longer the big dominant force. Now we don't have such a monopoly. There's a lot more of a distribution between the top language models. We've got the top competitors offering some serious competition to OpenAI. So that makes me quite happy. There's a continuing explosion of better and better tools. So what does that mean? If you find a tool that you love, like our family slide with the tools that we had before, this was altered. It was different last time we ran this presentation, because you don't want to be attached to a specific tool. You want to be in the territory, but you want to be able to let go of a tool if something better comes along. And then that's the reality here that we're seeing. We'll sign up to a tool. maybe after half a year, we'll find something better, and then we'll abandon the one that we signed up so we can jump board. That's just the reality. We got to accept. We keep jumping tools. If something better keeps coming out, you always want to be using the best. Corporations adopting AI. So I've mentioned Telstra. You're going to see that all across the board, all sorts of level 1 support, all sorts of data analysis, all sorts of research. A lot of the tools that I was actually showing you today, these kind of roles are gonna face challenges. Looking ahead, what's coming up in AI? Well, we're seeing the next generation of a lot of the multimedia. So next level voice AIs, next level image AIs, next level music, videos, visuals. I'm sure you've probably seen on YouTube those AI videos. They're looking more and more real as time goes on. There's actually, give it another year or two, and then I challenge you to find what's actually AI and what's real. And then, as Alexei mentioned, so this niche idea, we're actually seeing this now apply to the AI industry itself. So if you are someone that's considering the AI industry, or you are in an industry, then look for where is the niche AI in my industry, or where can I niche my AI into. So an example here is AI for lawyers, AI for clinics, AI for tradies. Think about it like that. Any kind of niche that you've got, that's where this thing is headed. And then finally, embrace it wholeheartedly. Like I mentioned, don't be the grumpy adult, be the fun kid. So, your goal is to replace yourself as much as possible with these tools, and then go 10x, give 10x amount of value with the same amount of time frame. Become a master of self-education using the AI. And actually just realized there was one more point on here that was meant to be in there. The AEO. We didn't mention the AEO. So Carl mentioned that the AI search, that's the other future that we need to be looking ahead. So search engines, of course, as you know, it's no longer just Google. We now have a lot of different search engines. We have Google, we have YouTube, we have different forms of search engines, the social search engines, and now we have the AI search engines. So that's another channel. And yeah, exactly. Carl says biggest new search term, brand name plus reviews. Absolutely. Yeah, that's a really good point. Sorry, you want to mention something, Carl?
Yeah. So, I mean, Lexi, this is right up your alley. You probably knew, like, about 5 years ago, it was like plumber near me. It was like the near me search was the big thing. What the biggest new trend in search terms is the brand name plus reviews. And what people have realized is that people are having a little bit of review fatigue. Like, you want to read, 5 or whatever, but how do you know the 5 or 10 reviews that you're reading are the best ones? And even Amazon got this with their Rufus. Where what the AI summary does now is it goes through everything and gives people a holistic view of the brand reputation. So I might say they have a great product or great service, but a number of customers have flagged issues with their return policy. So it is now basically summarizing it. So if you want to know what this is like, just go into a local browser and type in your business name and then add the word reviews in. You'll start to see. It doesn't work with everyone. Obviously, they're rolling it out with the AI overview, but it's an interesting new way where people are really deciding now, is this a business that I really want to work with or not? Or are other red flag issues there?
Yeah. This is the high intent keywords that we're talking about. We saw maybe about 7 or 8 years ago the rise of best. People wanted to basically find, best lawyer near me, best plumber or whatever. And this is essentially where people are about to pull out their wallet and buy something, or essentially make a decision to call somebody. So yeah, 100%. There's always new trends popping up. I think the reviews, you're right, there is a fatigue, and a lot of big businesses have invested a lot in it. So you're going to look into something with 300-400 reviews, but people, I think, don't trust that as much. I think it's about the overall scope, which is where, the Gemini block coming in and basically providing different sources like Trustpilot or product review and whatnot, really giving them a clearer picture. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Thanks, Carl and Alexei. Definitely, that's a really good point. And another thing we say, like, if you want to check where your current standing is for your area, you can just type in who's the best, and then your business type in your location. So, who's the best plumber in Brisbane or whatever, and then see if you come up in that list. And then if you do, where on that list you're coming up, and then you'll probably see, what Carl mentioned. They'll have like a summary of the overall customer sentiment in that result as well. So. If you're doing an AEO analysis, so an actual AEO audit, then what you're looking for is brand sentiment broken down into a quantified format. So almost like a scientific way is you can get for measuring brand sentiment. It's like normally it's something that's very subjective, but now with AI, and then with this ability to scan all those reviews online and online reputation, as Carl mentioned, you start to get closer to something that's more objective, so you can actually action the objective insights that you get from that. You're no longer playing guess games with your branding efforts. And yeah, I guess what takeaways do I want you guys to have from this presentation? Key takeaways. Firstly, yeah, make sure to humanize everything. So, like I mentioned, I don't want to see this non-humanized AI output. So if I can contribute something to the AI world, there's less of this robotic output. So make sure you humanize your outputs with that prompt. People don't talk like this. Write out how people actually talk. Use voice typing. So once again, flow states is the key. Unless you're like a wizard, typer with your fingers, use the voice typing. Simplify your learning. So we don't go too deep into this, but take and whatever you're trying to learn, everyone has their own learning style. Know your learning style. Convert the materials to your learning style. Absorb the material quicker. And make sure you utilize your deep research. So your 10 students pulling an all-nighter for you. Now think about it. Like, what do I want students to pull all-nighter for me? Like, what do I not have time to think about or research? Chuck it in. Make sure you use it. And then finally, use the mindset of a child when learning how to use AI. So any single time you're curious about a tool, most tools will have a free account or a trial account at least. Jump in, sign up to the trial. Just make sure you cancel if you don't like the tool. But play around, like actually jump in there, start pushing buttons. And if you like the tool, start looking at the documentation and learn how to use it. All right, so just to summarize what we covered your natural sounding prompts. We covered critiquing your work. We covered the deep research, the email auto drafting, some tools for how to use it in SEO, capturing your voice, the lead qualification agents for after hours and weekends, and then finally the mindsets and the future of AI and what you want to, how you want to approach it. Yeah, that's the presentation. And if there's any questions, now's the time.
Yeah, well, look, let's jump into the questions a little bit later. I just want to make sure that everyone gets an opportunity to have a chat with us. And yeah, if any of the content that we presented today is of interest, scan this QR code or reach out for a strategy session. A lot of the time, we are having customers and businesses reach out about AEO audits, and this is something that we do quite a lot of. This is where we can help you get into that, reviews, best, those sort of keywords quite quickly. So it's pretty much like a hands-on session where we sit with you, go through it, and then you get a list of things that you can implement yourself, or we can help you with it as well. I think it's highly important to address something like that. We're finding 30 to 40% increase in traffic by implementing these little things. Because more and more people are using ChatGPT to search, and Gemini, I think, is really taking over Google results, at least for now. But if there's anything else, if you want to look into partnership opportunities or looking at marketing campaign reviews, happy to have a chat. Just wanted to give you that opportunity there. So just scan that QR code and fill out the form. Otherwise, just shoot us an email either way. Yeah, in summary, overall, I guess for us, it was about giving you some tips and putting you in the right direction in terms of where you could elevate your business using niche strategies, AI. There's a few other strategies we sort of touched on, but if we missed anything, I'd be happy to sort of have a chat with you or even catch up for lunch or coffee or something like that. With the next event, and this is something that potentially needs to be reformatted, but 16th of September, 6 till 7. I'm running a session for 1 hour, basically just going into unlocking marketing and sales. And I'll give you a few practical tips, but I want to make this make this event like an open mic type thing where businesses can tell me specifically what they're doing and do like a hot seat scenario where we could go through your business specifically, and I can give you some real tips or brainstorm it. I mean, I love doing stuff like that. I just find that a lot of businesses don't get an opportunity to do that. So sign up for it, share it with your friends. It'd be great to do that. But Elevate events is something that I'm running as a part of my book launch, and this is something we're going to be doing regularly. I think once or twice a year we'll do a physical event as well. Those go down really, really well. And overall, I think you'll either learn something or you meet someone, but I guarantee you it'll create a positive change in your life and definitely your business. Okay, let's open up for questions for the whole thing, guys. I know some of you may have arrived a little bit late and you may have missed something, but that's not a problem. That's why we got this session. Let's open up the mics and have a bit of a chat.
I got a question, Max. You talked about that Liam, the voice agent. Is that using 11 Labs?
No, that's integrated with Go High Level. So it's part of our Go High Level setup that we do.
Okay, cool, cool. Because I think 11 Lab has have their own sort of internal agents or whatever that you can use once you've cloned your voice.
Yeah, they do, and they've got different levels to it as well. So, I mean, the basic ones are quite good as they are. But if you're really serious about it, you can get like a very serious clone done of your voice that's pretty much identical.
Yeah, well, I've cloned my voice in 11 Labs. I just basically the online course that I did, I just uploaded the voice part of that. So 3 hours worth of voice into that. So that worked out real well.
You mute, Max. I think you hit the mute button, buddy.
Sorry, yeah. It's also really good if you one of those people that likes to listen to like guided audios or something, or meditations or affirmations. You can get your own voice to record it for you. Program your brain. It works a lot
Yeah,
better.
cool. Thanks.
Excellent. John, how did you find these presentations? Do you have any questions, buddy?
Yeah, I've just got probably the one question at this stage. Max, you talked about using Zapier and Chat GPT together for that auto drafting of your email replies. How is that sort of actually set? From your earlier comment, I'm not familiar with Zapier so much, but that's a tool for integrating other AI tools. Is that right?
Yeah, Zapier is just like a connecting tool. It's a tool that can connect two softwares together, and there's a lot of different softwares you can connect. So Carl mentioned that like an already existing solution. My version was just like a home built homebrew sort of solution where I took Zapier, I plugged it into Gmail, and I just plugged it into ChatGPT to write a draft. That like it's quite easy to do. If you go to Zapier, I recommend create an account and play around with it because you'll find you can integrate a lot of tools and it's quite easy to set up. It's sort of like drag and drop, flowchart. If you can understand how to do a drag and drop flowchart, you can understand how to do this.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah, it's a great connecting tool. And I guess, our problem was a lot of staff was really running behind on the emails. And we wanted to make sure we can, reduce it as close to zero as we can. So Max has been playing with it. And when he rolled it out, like I couldn't believe it. So essentially, we use, Google Workplaces or Gmail, if you like, for our email. Every one of our staff would log into the email, and in the morning, that would be all the emails sitting in drafts already responded, and all you got to do is basically just go through it and complete your reply or hit send. That's all we really have to do. So it's been absolutely life-changing for us because our response has really increased quite substantially. And then I guess another instance where we implemented it is we do a lot of SEO and Google Ads reports. And as you can imagine, reports is never a fun process for a business owner because essentially you get this, file or link or something, then you got to go through it. It comes in once a month. We're like, this is not good. So why not connect it to the actual tools themselves and give them real data? Hey, this week you're ranking for these keywords. Hey, this week we've generated 30% increase in that, or these are the top conversions you're getting. So basically, rather than doing it like a monthly reporting, we changed it to weekly based on real data, but it's fully automated in that sort of human voice. And overall, that's created some really good conversation and most importantly, increased our retention. Because the biggest issue is not the SEO itself, it's just the fact that people don't hear about it regularly enough and they don't understand the actual numbers. So there's many ways to implement this for you, but I guess it really depends on the business and the processes and the system you use. Yeah, cool. Ashley, you joined in a bit late. I'm not sure if you can hear us, but if you got any questions about AI niche marketing or anything else, just want to ask a general one. It'd be great to have a chat. Can you hear us? You may need to unmute. Okay, I'm not sure if Ashley's here, and that's fine because a lot of people sort of tune in because they want to be able to listen to it on the background. Innovation Beauty Labs, are you there with us? Did you have any questions? All right. Well, and Carl had to run off. Well, look, overall, we just wanted to make sure everybody gets an opportunity to ask a question and participate. We've touched on a lot of different topics, and the whole idea was not to overwhelm you guys, but to make sure that we are giving you direction and share practical things that have already been implemented. For us, it's about educating customers and making sure that businesses know what's available, what's possible, and it's about making sure that you see a different perspective. I think a lot of us just really are stuck using a lot of old strategies or setup you used to. The market changes, the economy changes, the world changes. Guys, let's keep up with that. So with that, I think it's worth wrapping up. Our contact info is on the screen. If you guys want to shoot us an email or follow us, these are our contacts. And if you want to get a free copy of my book, please shoot me an email. And I do advise that you subscribe to my podcast, Better Business. Max, thank you very much for your presentation. I think, as always, was amazing. I had to get Max to really simplify it and keep it brief because last time this went on for about 3 hours and everyone absolutely loved it. But I think for a lot of people, it was really quite a lot of information. And the last thing we want to do is overwhelm you. So thanks very much for joining in today. I hope you guys have an amazing day. And yeah, maybe we'll touch base sometime soon.